So you're thinking of moving right here to Texas? Well, sit right there because in today's video, we're gonna walk you through the home buying process specific to Texas. Now, we work with tons of out-of-state buyers coming from all across the country, and we've noticed that the home buying process in Texas looks a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to. So we really wanted to take the time to break it down for you. That way you can be as prepared as possible for your move here to Texas. So let's get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living here in Houston, Texas, then subscribe to the channel, tap that bell for notifications. That way you can be the first to know about everything going on here in the Houston area. My name's Ferris. I'm a licensed broker here, and my team, we get calls, we get texts, we get emails every single day from people that are just like you, that are doing their research online and trying to figure out if Houston is the perfect place to relocate. So if you're looking to move in a day, a week, a month, or even a year, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. That way we can start planning with you so that you can make a smooth move here to the Houston area. Now, as we said, today we're gonna walk you through the entire home buying process. Now, I think it's really important to categorize things whenever you're walking through the process. So there's two home buying options in the state of Texas. There is new construction and there are resale homes. Now, I wanna focus on resale homes today and walk you through that buying process because it's a little bit more complicated than purchasing new construction. So your first step when you're going to be buying resale homes here in Texas is to start working with an agent. That's where we come in. Our team, if you really do reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text. We're gonna reach out to you immediately, and we're going to have typically a 30 to 45 minute deep dive call, hear about our clients' needs, where they wanna move, and then we can get them set up on a home search. Now, the first tip I wanna give you if you're looking at homes online by yourself and you're not quite ready to reach out to us yet, is go to har.com. That is the local MLS here in Houston. And unlike a lot of other cities' MLSs, har.com actually has a consumer-facing website that our clients can use to look at homes without needing us to set them up on an immediate search. So if you know that you're way far out in your move and this is just kind of trying to figure out if maybe Houston's right for you, trying to check up on what you can get for your money at different price points, then by all means go to har.com and play around and look and see what homes cost that you start to gravitate towards. And the benefit of this is that you can start to educate yourselves so that you can set your expectations properly. That way, when you do reach out to us, we're all on the same page. Now, the next step in the home buying process, once you get a little bit more serious, is let's go ahead and get you working with a local lender. Now, if you're a cash buyer, the process is a lot smoother here in Texas, but majority of buyers aren't gonna be cash buyers. And so no matter what loan type you're gonna be using, it's really important to get with a good local Texas lender. If you're looking to move to Texas, you want somebody that's very familiar with the housing market here. And so once we get you with that lender is going to issue a pre-qualification letter. That letter is very important because what it does is it gives us the green light to go ahead and start looking at homes. So important to note that you really cannot put in any offers here in Texas if you are using financing without a pre-approval letter. So we wanna get that knocked out as soon as possible so that we make sure, one, that we're looking at homes in the correct price point, because the last thing we wanna do is show you a $600,000 house and have you fall in love and then you find out that you're only qualified for $400,000. And so we wanna get this covered on the front end. That way there's no restrictions and we can hit the ground running. And here in Texas right now, I'm sure you've heard the market has been pretty hot. And so you really wanna have all your ducks in a row before we go and start looking at homes. So once we've got the pre-approval letter, then we get a little bit more serious with our search. We're gonna set you up on a specific search that meets the exact criteria for what you're looking for. So if you say, hey, I know for certain that I wanna be in Katy, Texas, or Conroe, Texas, or the Woodlands, Texas, we'll set up a search with those parameters saying, hey, we need at least 4 bedrooms, a max purchase price of $550,000, and you're only going to see what comes in through those parameters. Now, the good news is, because time is of the essence when buying here in Texas right now, that these searches are very accurate and they're not going to miss anything. And so we like to cast a wide net just to make sure you're seeing all of your options, and then you can go through them individually and narrow them down. Now, I do like to note that our value as agents to you in 2022 isn't always going to be finding you your house. You have the internet, we've got these awesome resources, and so a lot of times clients reach out to us for the first time and they already have an address in mind. And so if that's you, that's totally fine. The sooner that you can reach out and text us that address, we're going to get on it immediately. We're going to pull the disclosures. We're going to see if there's anything wrong with the home. We're going to see if it's flooded. We're going to check the age of the roof, the AC, and we're going to get the listing agent on the phone to see exactly where they are with offers. And then that's when we call you and say, hey, here's the full rundown. What would you like to do? And so as we get that search set up, homes start to come in. We have our clients text us immediately once they see addresses that are interesting to them. And then from there, we do exactly that. We get a hold of the agent, we get you that information. So different people have different scenarios. And so if you're watching this and you're in a different state, I want to run you through your different options as far as how to buy from out of state. So a lot of people have homes that they have to sell in another state. And so let's talk about that just for one moment. So if you have another home that you need to sell in order to qualify to purchase here, it's important that we do things in the right order. We don't want to be putting in offers until that home there is either on the market or under contract, and you feel very confident that you have a tentative closing date. And the reason for this is that way we can plan your purchase here. Now, there are some third-party home buyer options that essentially work like a bridge loan. And so if you have a lot of equity in a home in a state or a city that you're moving from, and you find the perfect home here and you call us and say, hey, I have to have this one, there are options where you can take out loans on the equity you have in your current home and go ahead and purchase here as a cash buyer. Now, the benefits of this are going to be you're going to look like a lot more competitive of a buyer because it's a cash offer, and you're not going to have your home sold there before you buy here. And so I think it's ideal for everybody looking to buy here to not have to move twice. That's very important for our clients. And so that's one way that we've found to be really successful to smooth out that process for our clients. That being said, another way that we have clients not have to move twice when selling real estate in other states is we have them request a lease back. So they'll put their home on the market in California or New York or wherever it is, and they'll get a contract on that home. And in that contract, it states that from the day that they close, they get 30 days or 45 or 60 days or sometimes even 90 days to continue living in the home that they just sold. And then that gives them time to not have to move twice. You can stay in your current home and then we hit the ground running here. Maybe we do it remotely, or maybe you hop on the first flight out and we start looking at homes here. So here in Texas, if you are working with a loan, 30 days is pretty much the standard here for how long it takes to go from putting a home under contract to closing. There are some lenders that we work with that can get that done faster, but because there's so much involved when you have a loan, like an appraisal, sometimes surveys, inspections, typically you don't want to rush it, and typically you don't want to push it up quicker than 30 days. That way we make sure we're not rushing, and that way we make sure to be very thorough when buying you a home here. So 30 days is really what you should plan around. Now, most homes currently on the market don't sit for very long. So we really like our clients to be comfortable with a healthy budget in a healthy range. So what we mean by that is if I send you 50 homes and you like 20 of them, then that's a really good sign. That means that come the coming months when you're actually active and you're looking to purchase and you actually hop on a flight and we look at homes in person together, you can feel good that you're gonna have good options. But if we set you up on a search and send you 50 homes and you like 0 of them or 1 of them, which happens, then you're really not going to be in a good position in a month or 3 months or whenever it is you're going to fly into town to look at homes. What we should probably do is look at our search and change some things. We either need to change the criteria, the size of the home, the location that we're looking in, or the budget. And until we get a healthy amount of home options. Now, home inventory in Texas and really all across the country in the past couple of years has been very limited. And so it is more difficult to find exactly what you're looking for. And so that's why we want to make sure we have that search dialed in. That way we have a healthy range of options for whenever you do come to town. So what you've all been waiting for, let's get a home under contract. So once we submit an offer here in Texas, you're going to submit the offer on a written contract to the listing agent. And depending on whether or not they have other offers, they could accept your offer immediately. They could counter your offer, which means that they say, hey, we like your offer, but we want to change X, Y, and Z. Or they could say, hey, we have multiple offers. We're setting a deadline. For example, a lot of listing agents will set deadlines on Sunday evenings or Monday mornings to give plenty of buyers the opportunity to go through these homes and make an offer. And so if they say that they're going to accept best and final offers by 10 p.m. on Sunday evening, then what that means is that we want to get as much information as we can and put in the strongest possible offer and hit that deadline. And as long as we do that, then we'll typically find out within 24 to 48 hours whether or not that home's under contract. Once the home's under contract, there are 2 checks that you're going to need to write. And this, I think, is a really important distinction from people that are coming from other states, because I want you to understand how Texas works. It's actually a very low barrier of entry to purchase a home here in Texas. Once you go under contract, you're going to write an option check and you're going to write an earnest money check. Now, let's talk about the option money. Here in Texas, typically on resale homes, a buyer's agent will negotiate an option period for that buyer. And what that is it's a prescribed amount of time. Typically, we see it's around 7 days, sometimes as long as 10 days, and sometimes as short as 1 day. And during the option period, the seller takes the home off of the market. The seller is no longer allowed to back out of the deal. Only the buyer is able to back out. And during this option period, let's say that you put up $100 option money for a 7-day option period. During this time, you'll get inspections, you'll meet with the inspector, you'll go over the report, and then if there's any repairs that you want to negotiate, you'll negotiate all of these repairs during the option period. And if for some reason you decide you want to back out, or let's say we put the home under contract sight unseen and you fly into town and you don't love the home, all you're going to lose if you back out during the option period is the option money. So if it's $100 or $500, typically you don't have to go over $1,000 for option money, and that would be on a very competitive home. So if you want to back out, you can back out during the option period. You're just going to lose out on that option money and then whatever you paid for your inspections. And inspections here for a full home inspection typically ranges from $350 to $500 depending on the size of the home. So once you leave that option period, you really aren't able to back out without losing the earnest money. Now, the earnest money is held at the third-party title company they're kind of a third party to the entire transaction. They're not on the buyer's side, they're not on the seller's side, they're an intermediary that's a neutral party, and that's why you want them to have this earnest money, because they're holding on to it until the deal closes. And if for some reason the buyer backs out after the option period, the seller is entitled to keeping that earnest money. Now, there are a few exceptions here. If you have a loan, you will have what's called a third-party financing period, which can extend anywhere from 18 to 21 days is what we typically see in contracts here. So that means if you're outside of your option period and interest rates jump up a whole point, or the lender says, hey, we can no longer qualify you because we found this on your credit, then you can terminate and you can keep your earnest money. And so once again, it's a very buyer-friendly state here in Texas. Now, like I said, the seller can't back out. So if a seller tried to back out, it's in the contract that the buyer could sue them for specific performance and force them to sell the home. Now, I never see this because sellers don't back out here. They're excited and eager to sell their homes. And so Buyers are the ones that typically will cause trouble if there's trouble to be caused. So anyways, once we're out of the option period, things that are going to happen next are going to be, if you're working with a loan officer, they're going to use a third-party appraiser to come out and make sure that the home is worth what you're paying for it. And there are some circumstances where the appraiser will say, hey, the home is worth $500,000, but we wrote the contract up for $520,000. And so at that point, it kind of opens up negotiations again, and there are 4 options here. The first option would be that if the home doesn't meet appraisal, the buyer has the right to just terminate the deal and walk away and keep their earnest money. The second option would be the seller can reduce the sales price to the appraised value and everything moves forward as planned, and you close at that new reduced sales price. The third option is going to be that the buyer makes up the difference. So if they offered $520,000 and it appraised for $500,000, then they have to make up that $20,000 difference with cash, and that doesn't count as part of the percentage of their down payment. So if they were going to put down 20%, they need to put down $20,000 in addition to what they were planning on putting down. And then the fourth option, which we actually see a lot in this market if there is an appraisal discrepancy, is where they meet in the middle. So the buyer would come up $10,000, the seller would come down $10,000, they'd make up the difference and continue to move forward, as opposed to terminating the deal and having to start all over as a buyer and start all over as a seller. So we don't have too many appraisal issues anymore in the current market. All of the appraised values have kind of caught up to these new elevated prices, but it does happen occasionally. And if it does happen, we are prepared. And so then you can expect, after the appraisals come in, you're really just waiting on clear to close with your lender. And so they might come back with certain conditions saying, hey, you need to turn in these bank statements or these other documents. But as long as you're getting those into the lender in a timely manner, everything typically is pretty smooth. And so the final step in the process is going to be going to closing. And so the title company, once the lender has reached out and said that, hey, we've got the clear to close, they send out that final closing disclosure. That has to be sent out 3 days prior to closing. And so that's a state law. And so if they send that out 3 days later, we can schedule with the title company to close. So here in Texas, buyers and sellers don't close in the same room at the same exact time. They used to do that, but as you can imagine, things happened and they've decided that it's a better idea to just close individually. And so you'll set a time at the title company, you'll go up there, you'll bring a valid form of identification, they'll make photocopies of that, and then we'll run through everything, make sure all the numbers look right, even though we will have looked at that prior to closing. And then from there, you sign on the dotted line, you bring your cashier's check, and the lender funds the loan. And here in Texas, you are considered closed and funded when the lender has sent funds to the title company. So as soon as that happens, you get the keys to your new home right here in Texas. And so that's the full process of purchasing a resale home here in Texas. Like I said, I know it's different from people coming from out of state. So I really hope that this helps you. And if you have any further questions, leave them in the comments below, or like we always say, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. That way we can help you make a smooth move right here to Houston, Texas.